So students, as we have discussed in the next video or in the earlier video, we have discussed about the Taylor principles of scientific management, the all 7 principles we have discussed. That is science not rule of thumb, standardization, scientific selection, training and development of worker, mental revolution, harmony not discord. So now we'll discuss the very important topic of this chapter 6 management, that is your Henry Fuels management. So Henry Fuels management is a very important topic and it consists of 14 principles, and I instruct all of you commerce students of class 12 to learn all the 14 principles. Not 1, not 2, not 6 or 7. Learn all the 14 principles, because this is now the question type is of MCQ type and it can come from anywhere. So you have to study all the lines in depth, each and every line precisely, minutely, carefully and attentively. So we'll discuss the first principle of Henry Fuels management, that is your division of work. Division of work means in an organization there is so much task, there are so many departments, but division of work means that an division of total work should be divided into clear and compact jobs so that an individual knows what are the jobs allotted and assigned to him and what are the jobs he can, or the person or the employee can execute. So division of total organizational goals, the total organizational goals cannot be achieved or accomplished by a individual. So there are certain individuals, certain employees, they are working in the organization, and on the basis of departments and groups they are classified according to the job requirements and according to the qualification. So this division of work leads to dividing the total job into crystal clear compact jobs so that each employee knows what is their job and what they needs to perform, what they need to execute. So it helps to continue the business operation very smoothly, effectively, and minimizing the wastage of resources, helps to enhance the productivity, because each employee, when they repetition, when in the repetition they do the work, they achieve perfection and mastery over the work. So division of work also helps to enhance the work capacity, productivity, and helps in optimal utilization of resources. So division of work means dividing the total work into compact, clear and well stated, well defined job, that each individual, each employee knows their job, what is the purpose and how they are contributing. Now moving on to the next point, that is authority and responsibility. So the word authority means is the right to command, is the right to instruct the subordinates to get the thing done. Obviously the superior have the authority, so authority is a right to command subordinates to get the work done, and while responsibility is the obligation to perform the assigned task. So authority is the thing, the power which is concentrated in the hands of superior, and responsibility is the obligation to perform the necessary assigned task. And this authority and responsibility are coexistent, and it defines the role of a superior and a subordinate relationship. So both authority and responsibility both should have equilibrium and parity between each other. In order, there should be a if there is authority absent, then it will lead to ineffectiveness or irresponsible. So both should be coexistence to as to maintain a parity or equilibrium between the each other. So the superior knows whom to instruct and how to get the things or the organizational goals done, and the subordinate knows which are the tasks which he has been assigned to complete and they are responsible to whom. So this is also known as authority and responsibility. Now we move to the next one, that is discipline. So all of you are very familiar with the word discipline. Discipline means your obedience, respect. So discipline implies that, it states that there should be obedience of all the rules, regulations, punctuality, respect of the orders from the superiors end. So this is known as discipline, where it helps to make the smooth work of the progress of the each and every work in the organization. There is no interruption and there is no blockage. So discipline is a must. Discipline states that there should be obedience, means all of the subordinates have to obey the rules and the instructions. There should be punctuality, there should be respect of orders. So that is known as discipline. Moving on to the fourth principle of management is unity of command. Unity of command means that one subordinate should report to only one superior at a time. So one superior should command only one subordinate and gets that thing done. Because if there will be any violation, if a superior or a subordinate is reporting to two superiors at a time, so it will lead to violation of unity of command, leading to chaos, delay in work, confusion. So unity of command that states that one subordinate should report to one superior at a time, and they should know to whom they are accountable, to whom they are responsible. And on the superior side, superior should instruct one subordinate at a time and one work, so as to get the work done. Moving on to the next principle, that is unity of direction. The fifth principle, unity of direction, means that in the organization each group should have one head and one tail of activities. Means the unity of direction implies that there should be, for a group there should be only one objective, and each group should have one head and one tail of a group of the attainment of objectives. So there should be no confusion about that. Now moving on to the next, that is subordination of individual interest to general interest. So the sixth principle states that each individual should give more preference, more priority to the general interest. General interest means the common organizational objectives. So each individual should give more priority to the common, means to the general organizational goals rather than individual goals. Because with the help of collecting of all the efforts of all the individual efforts, so it becomes very much easier to attain and accomplish the organizational goals. So it states that the individual should focus only on the relevant things and putting aside the individual objectives. So the employees should not focus on their individual objective, rather they should work harder, put all the efforts towards the attainment of group objectives, towards the attainment of group goals, because all those efforts are all are unified, collected and integrated towards attainment of the general interest, that is general group goal of the organization. So that is, they should give always preference and priority towards the general interest. Now we move to the next point, that is seventh, that is Henry Fayol's principle of management, that is remuneration. So remuneration means the amount of wages or salaries payable to the employees, because the employees are discharging or rendering their services in an organization. So the employer or the organization is very much liable to pay the employees in the form of wage or salaries, and these wage remuneration motivates and boosts up the employees, because this is a form of financial incentive which helps the employees to do the work more dedicatedly, more sincerely and honestly. So the wages should be fair, the wages should be reasonable, so that the employees are well satisfied with the remuneration. So I hope the meaning of remuneration is clear to you. Remuneration means the amount of wages and salaries which are paid in cash or kind by the employer or from the employer towards the employee side, and the wages act as a fuel, or the wages act as a incentives which drives the employee to work hard, to put in more effort, so as to achieve the organizational goals. And the wages should be fair and reasonable to both the parties, and the wages helps in satisfying and motivating the employees. The remuneration. Now we move to the next, that is centralization. Centralization means the concentration of power. So anything that decreases the role of the subordinates is known as decentralization, and which increases is known as centralization. So this should be kept in a right manner, in a right proportion. So that is known as centralization. Now we move to the next principles, that is scalar chain. Scalar chain is a chain which in a top hierarchy, in a pyramid, there is a top structure, middle structure and a lower structure of the organization. So the chain which starts from the top to the bottom, from the top structure means from the board of directors, chairmen to the employees, it is known as scalar chain. And so this is scalar chain is known as to have a good and effective communication from the top hierarchy to the lower hierarchy, and to make a very good and urgent and effective communication. Scalar chain can also use a gangplank. Gangplank is a very effective method to help and facilitate direct and quick communication between the two departments. So that is gangplank. Gangplank is a system which is used, a process which is used to do the effective and fast communication, because in an organization there are so structures and there are so many departments. It delays the communication process. So if the communication is very urgent, a gangplank is very much used. And moving on to the next principle, that is order. Order means that there should be a right thing in a right place. So order implies that everything should occupy their right place and in the right time. So there is two order, that is material order and social order. So material order means all the right things should occupy the right place so as to make the maximum utility, maximum usage of it. And social order means each and every employee should be should be given the place at their right. So right men should occupy the right place so as to make the optimal utilization of resources. Next we move to the next is your 11, that is equity. Equity means the term states that each employee should be treated with equality, with fair, justice, kindness and reasonable. There should be no sorts of discrimination, no sorts of nepotism and favoritism. So equity implies there should be equality, and there should be justice and kindness among all the employees. There should be a universal brotherhood, and there should be no sorts of discrimination, no sorts of partiality, no sorts of biasness, no sorts of nepotism and favoritism. Now we move to the next, that is stability of tenure. So stability of tenure implies or states that in the employee's mind there should be no anxiety there should be no fear that they'll be fired, or they'll be laid off, or they'll be retrenched. So this stability of tenure should not give rise to any panic or anxiety or worriness. So this stability of tenure implies that there should be a job security, a sense of they should be relieved of any worries or any panic. So stability of tenure means there should be a sense of security and stability of the job. So if there is sense of security and stability, then the employee will work with more enthusiasm, more passion, dedication, honesty and sincerity. But if there is any sorts of insecurity among the employees, there will be confusion, conflicts, disputes, industrial unrest, then it should be, or what you say, labor turnover. So these are some of the violations, and each principal violation you have to study. And we'll move to the next, that is 30, initiative. Initiative means that each employee working in the organization should come up with some initiative, should gather some and present some new ideas, new thoughts, and should provide new suggestion opinions, because each employee should be given the chance and opportunity so that they can present their opinions, ideas, thought, viewpoints. Because if they feel that they are part of the organization, so they'll become a sense of belongingness and loyalty and attachment towards the organization. So that is known as initiative. And the next and the 14th principle, that is Esprit de Corps. Esprit de Corps states that in an organization there should be a universal brotherhood, there should be a peace, harmony, cooperation and mutual coordination, because unity is strength, and strength of an enterprise derives from each employee working together, putting in all the efforts for the attainment of common organizational objectives. So Esprit de Corps states that unity of a strength, unity is strength, there should be unison among all the employees, there should be peace, harmony, no conflicts, there should be universal brotherhood, there should be they should work together, all the individuals should put in their effort, and all the efforts should be directed and mobilized and channelized towards the attainment of group goals and common organizational objectives. So we have discussed all the 14 principles management of the Henry Fayol, and all the 14 principles starting from division of work, authority and responsibility, discipline, unity of command, unity of direction, subordination of general interest, of individual interest to general interest, remuneration, centralization, scalar chain, order, equity, stability of tenure, initiative and Esprit de Corps. You have to study all the lines in depth carefully, and you have to study if there is any violation. Suppose in unity of command, if there is violation of the unity of command, it will lead to confusion, chaos, panic, delay in work. If there is a violation of stability of tenure, it will lead to industrial unrest, labor turnover, then it will lead to fearsome, panic, retrenchment. So there is, every time there is a violation of this principle, so you have to understand, study the violation. So all of you students of Commerce Class 12, we have done a very important topic, that is Henry Fayol's principles management, that is 14 principle. You have to study all the 14 principles. So you have your task is to watch the video entirely numerous times so as to catch the meaning, grasp the meaning very carefully and attentively, and listen to the audio, and refer the textbook of Commerce Class 12. I hope all of you have. Do study all the lines very carefully, minutely, precisely, and I hope any doubt, no doubts will arise up. But if any sorts of doubt arises, do text and proceed do not hesitate. I'll definitely provide you the required assistance. And moreover, your exams are coming, and the first exam is of commerce on 22 September. So all of you prepare yourself accordingly. I hope you all have the bifurcated syllabus and the reduced scope and syllabus. Do follow, refer it. From chapter 1 to chapter 6 we have almostly finished. We have finished all the portions regarding complying and in accordance with the reduced syllabus. So all of you do study all the things which are coming in the reduced syllabus, each and every line, because this time there is a MCQ and each of the options will be very much similar and having a resemblance. So you all have to study very well, very dedicated and very honest effort you have to give. So unlike the previous time, it was descriptive type, but now this is objective type. You have to take only the options. So there is, if the option is correct, you'll get full marks, and if the option you have taken is incorrect, then you'll get 0 marks for it. So all of you please pay all the dedicated efforts and very honest towards studies. So study very carefully according to the syllabus, reduced syllabus and the bifurcated syllabus we have done. Go through the chapter, learn each and every line, and study, memorize and learn all the short questions and long answers, and go through between in depth all the chapters. And if you find any sorts of doubt from chapter 1, from business environment till management chapter 6, do revert back it to me, any doubts, so I can provide you the required assistance.